Hi everyone and welcome to the Nicks and Beans Diaries. This is going to be my 30 to 34 week pregnancy update. Gonna say hi?
Hi!
This is my daughter Amelia. I don't think I've ever shown her on this channel yet. I did pregnancy vlogs with her up until about 29 weeks. But yeah, this is her. You stand up. Hi!
Hi!
She's been wanting to do a video for ages, so I'm finally letting her in on this one. So I am currently 34 weeks and 2 days pregnant today. It's amazing that I even made it to 34 weeks. This pregnancy has been troublesome from the get-go, but we made it here and I'm so excited, because if he comes anywhere from now on, he will be perfectly fine. He does have a little bit of complications at the moment, but it's nothing that we can't deal with when he's born and when he's actually here. So yeah, so let's get into the update. Are you excited to have a little brother?
Yeah.
Yeah? Excited to meet baby?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cool. So it all started, so let's start with the 30th week update. I had my second growth scan at 30 weeks, and they found that he was lacking behind. So in the previous growth scan, he was somewhere between the 30th to 40th percentile in weight and length and all of that good stuff. So at that growth scan, he was now lacking 2 weeks behind in growth, except that his head and his legs were measuring on par with my gestation, and it was only his belly that was measuring 2 weeks behind. So they were a bit concerned, because usually that means that there is a weight problem, and it means that he's not gaining enough weight in utero. So we had to then measure the fluid levels and all of that good stuff, and everything was okay at that appointment. The placenta was fine, the fluid levels were good, it's just his belly was measuring quite small, and so that pushed him all the way down under the 10th percentile. So I think he was sitting at the 8th percentile at that appointment, which is quite scary, because like that means he didn't grow very much since the last appointment, which was at 26 weeks and 6 days. That was the last growth scan. And then I had an appointment with the OB, and he just basically said that they're going to monitor him closely from now onwards. So I need to get growth scans every 2 weeks just to see if he's gaining weight. We'll do fluid and Doppler count as well to measure his fluid, and at any point if his fluid levels get scary low, or if the Doppler if the Doppler comes back that the placenta's not working, they will induce me right away. So that was not the greatest information to hear, but we knew that we were in safe hands. Independent midwife also transferred me through to the obstetrician's office, which means she is no longer my midwife. I'm now going directly through the OB. He has his own midwives at his office, so they see me in between the weeks that, sorry, she's gonna come in and out of this video. So they're gonna see me in between the weeks that he doesn't see me, since I only see him every 2 to 3 weeks. So what happened? After at 30 weeks and 6 days, I was then admitted into hospital because I had a bit of a bloody show, sorry, TMI, but I had a bit of mucus with blood in it. They immediately admitted me because I was also getting some cramping with them. So they didn't want a repeat of what happened at 27 weeks and 6 days. Oh, sorry, 26 weeks and 6 days. So at that point they gave me 2 doses of steroids. So this was my second round of steroids, because I got my first round at 27 weeks. And at this one they decided that it's best for him to get his second round then, in case he did come early, In that way his lungs will be super developed and he shouldn't have too much problems needing any help with breathing. So that's exactly what they did. That Wednesday night, so I turned 31 weeks in the hospital. I then started having contractions again, and they were quite painful, and they were coming in my back, like the 27-week one. They were all in my back and all in the front, and very, very crampy and achy, and they immediately put me on the monitors, and they also gave me some medication to try, and they actually didn't give me nifedamine this time around, because they said that they won't actually stop my contractions, but they were hoping that they would stop naturally. So they gave me some, they started out just with Panadol. That wasn't really doing anything, and then they gave me a little bit of codeine and also some Sevrodol, which is like a very small dose of morphine, and that combination basically made me super sleepy and super relaxed, so that tended to help with stopping the contractions. So the contractions lasted from about 7 p.m. it started, and it lasted up until 3 a.m. that morning, the next morning. So it was a really rough night. They actually allowed my husband to stay in hospital with me overnight. Luckily he was on his Christmas break still during this time. I think it was his last week of being at home, and so they let him stay overnight in case I went into full labour. But luckily I didn't, and they allowed me to go home the next day, and obviously told me, if you get any more bleeding, if you have any more contractions, come straight back in. And the rest of the week was fine up until Sunday, where I again had another show, and so I was straight back to the hospital. I had a bit of cramping, but there was nothing really, like I wasn't contracting regularly, so there was no point in keeping me. So that was at 31 weeks and 4 days. So I had 2 admissions in like 1 week, which wasn't fun. But they then also gave me a check, because I think they did check me when I first got admitted. They did check me, and this is TMI, this is the TMI part, but they said that my cervix was posterior at on that Monday. It was posterior, and that it was like half a centimeter, I think it was, dilated, but it was just opening. There was like, they couldn't even really they couldn't really say how many centimeters I was, because they said it was just opening and it was posterior still, which is good, because as long as there's no change in my cervix, they are happy with me being at home. So on the Sunday, when they checked me, my cervix had started coming forward and it was completely anterior. So if you don't know the difference between posterior cervix and anterior cervix, is the posterior cervix is when it's super high up there and tilted towards your back, and once you approach labor, or basically as your body starts prepping itself for labor, your cervix will then come forward to allow the baby's head to descend, and then you can have your baby. So my cervix is currently anterior, and I am currently 1 centimeter dilated, and that's as of 31 weeks and 4 days. That's the last time I've been checked. I haven't been checked since then, so I have no idea if I progressed or not, but for right now that's where I am. Having contractions consistently every single day, especially at nighttime. They get really bad and quite painful, but they haven't been consistent enough for me to run to the hospital, or the pain increasing enough for me to like run back to the hospital. So it's just going to be one of those things that I go through till the end of the pregnancy. I'm just going to have a lot of Braxton Hicks contractions that are quite painful. And so our next growth scan we had was at 32 weeks, And at 32 weeks, they were again going to check his length, the head circumference, his belly, and the water levels, and the Doppler feed between the placenta and his umbilical cord, because he does have a 2-vessel cord, so they're also monitoring that side of things. And everything was okay, except that they were finding it very hard to get a proper belly measurement, because he is so squished in there. Like you could tell by my belly hasn't really grown much since about 28 weeks, which was my first concern, because my belly at this point with my daughter was a lot bigger. So he doesn't have much room in there at all, and so his belly was quite squished, and they were trying very hard to get a measurement. So I was 32 weeks pregnant on the dot, and his belly was measuring anywhere from 29 to 30 weeks pregnant. So he was still trailing quite behind in growth in his belly. His head and his legs were completely fine. I think they were like 31 and 5 days, which is quite normal. So they once again were concerned about his belly measurement. I think the appointment took like half an hour instead of like 15 minutes, just because they were trying to get that belly measurement. And yeah, so then they said that his weight at that appointment, so at 30 weeks, I think his weight was 1.4 kgs. And at this appointment, his weight was 1.6 kgs, which means he's gained weight over the last 2 weeks, but it was still measuring quite small, especially because they had to struggle to get that bigger measurement. They were going to go originally with the 29-week measurement, which put him at 1.5 kgs, and they tried really hard just to get him to 30, like just to get a 30-week measurement, just to like put him up. Otherwise that means he had dropped even lower on the growth chart. So he was 1.6 kgs at that appointment, and the OB that I saw, he was very lovely. He was just open with me, and he basically had said that, yep, so we're going to diagnose baby with SGA, which is small for gestation. So now they're monitoring him extra close, so that basically if he's going to lag behind anymore, I'm getting induced. And they won't let me carry this pregnancy past 39 weeks either, because sometimes it gets to that point where it is better for him to be out than in, because then it's, I don't know, because then I can breastfeed and he can gain weight on the outside rather than the inside. He's not RUGR, which is growth restricted, because his head and his legs are growing. It's just his weight's not happening, like he's not gaining any weight. And we also found out at that appointment the reason why I'm having so many preterm contractions or painful contractions is because of my hematoma. So my hematoma is starting to play up. It's aggravating my uterus, and it's basically causing me to go into preterm labor, and then my body will like shut it down and then stop the contractions. So my body's just fighting with itself at the moment. So he basically said at any point I could go into labor, just because the hematoma could aggravate my body so much that it could put me into full-blown labor. And usually with women who have a hematoma, it's still in the 3rd trimester, that's usually what happens. The body will just be pushed into full-blown labor, no matter what gestation they are. So yeah, so I got the growth chart and I thought I'd show you, if you can see. So this line over here is the 10th percentile, 50 and 90, and he is just under that 10th percentile, so he's about the 8th percentile. So that's his growth, and he was over here, so he has dropped down to here. So yeah, so that's just a little information for you on his growth. So the next growth scan that I have is on Wednesday coming up. So I'll be exactly 35 weeks, which is insane to think about. I'm so glad that I'm making it further and further into this pregnancy. Obviously, the more he stays in, the better it is for him, but if he does come out, it's not going to be the end of the world, because I can breastfeed and he can gain weight pretty quickly. So yeah, so we're gonna go to our 35-week appointment. We also have another appointment with my midwife at 35 weeks. So I met my new midwife, or the midwife that works with the OB. I met her at 33 weeks, which is last week, and she was lovely. She did make a few comments saying that I don't actually have a lot of fluid around baby at the moment, so I'm literally all baby. He doesn't have much fluid to help him turn and do all of things, which explains why his movements are so painful at the moment, because when he moves it actually hurts. So that'd be why, because there's no like extra cushioning in there for him. And also yeah, like he is way down in my pelvis at the moment too, so he's extremely low, so I do get a lot of pressure throughout the day. If I'm on my feet for too long, the pressure is unbearable at night time, and I just have to like lay down. My husband's been amazing at like rubbing my feet and rubbing my lower back, especially my pelvis, because of the baby just being all the way down there. So he's just been amazing during this whole process, helping. So things have gotten a lot more uncomfortable since about 33 weeks. I think it's just, yeah, the pressure of him being down there. It's not really my belly, because my belly isn't huge. It's just, I think, the discomfort of pregnancy as well. Like, I'm not getting any sleep at the moment. I'm waking up a lot to go pee, and also I'm just waking up random times during the night, so I'm not getting a full night's sleep. And it has been a lot harder having a toddler to look after, who's going to be 3 in a few weeks, which I can't believe. But she is, you know, like, she's a girl and she wants attention and she wants to play and she wants to play Barbies and makeup and all of that good stuff. So it's like, it's getting harder and harder on my body to do all of that things with her, especially when I'm so tired and exhausted and not having really good sleep. But we're getting through, and that's the most important part. So yes, I have 3 appointments next week coming up at 35 weeks, so hopefully I can do an update straight after those appointments and we won't have to wait. I have a midwife's appointment on the Tuesday, and I have an OB and ultrasound again on the Wednesday, just to check on his growth, the water levels and all of that good stuff. I think also at that appointment we'll decide when they will be inducing me, which is quite scary to think about. I never thought I'd ever need to be induced. With my daughter I went into labour naturally at 40 weeks pregnant, so this is very different for me, but I'm not opposed to it and I'm not afraid of it either. All that I want is a healthy baby and me to be healthy, and if it's better for him to be out than in, then so be it. I've come to terms with everything, so we'll go over the induction process with my midwife on Tuesday, and she will also go through a birth plan with us, which is quite scary to think about. But yeah, so she'll be doing our birth plan, telling us about the process, how they go about it, and then on Wednesday I'll have a growth scan and they'll decide which date to induce. So they'll be inducing anywhere between 37 and 39 weeks. I'm just not sure yeah, if it's going to be any earlier than that, because basically my midwife told me last week that if the fluid levels around baby is super low, or if the Doppler is not working well between the placenta and the umbilical cord, they will be inducing me straight away. So those are the things that they're looking out for at the next ultrasound. Also his growth, if his growth is lagged behind even more than what it is now, they will be inducing me earlier as well. So yeah, so that's the big update, what's been going on in the last month. It's been crazy, but we're getting through, and I'm so excited to finally get to meet this little boy soon. I'll do a quick belly shot, and then that'll be it for this vlog, and then hopefully I can update you after my ultrasound next week. On the front, the side, so it's not overly huge, I don't think. And so there we go. Belly from the front, so he's still really low. There we go. So yeah, that's the belly shot. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you next week. Bye.